the biggest ribber that you ever met?
Mr. Fuji, without a doubt.
Haha.
Fuji was hilarious, and Fuji was one of these guys that you just couldn't help but love. I mean, he was friendly, he was talkative, he was funny as hell, and he always had a funny story. But you better watch Fuji when he started getting close to you. And I'll just tell you a quick funny story if I have time, and
Absolutely.
I'll try to keep it as clean as a family as I
You don't
can.
have to. Don't worry.
So I'm in Australia, and I'm a kid in Australia, and I just basically gotten out of college, and I got a trip to Australia. Well, in that crew in Australia was King Curtis, Mark Lewin, and Mr. Fuji hadn't arrived with me. King Curtis and Mark Lewin at the time. I mean, they were, it was the '60s. What can I say? So drugs were drugs at that time, and drugs were drugs that you smoked and you were felt safe doing them. So I was an athlete, and I swear to God, I'd never smoked a marijuana cigarette in my life until I got to Australia, after I was out of college. And so down there, I made friends with these guys for some reason. I got to be really good friends with them. Well, they wanted to take it a step further than just the smoke. So Fuji was still in Hawaii. Well, they had what they called the magic cookie, and I'm sure Don Morocco mentioned the magic cookie.
He's never mentioned it to me. I'll bring it up to him though next time I speak to him.
Well, they had a cookie around, and Don, probably the reason Don don't want to say he was guilty of this, but excuse me, it sounds like I've been hitting it too. So they devised a plan. They went to Jim Barnett, said, "Hey Jim, bring Fuji in. We'll pay his transportation in if you'll just pay him and give him 6 weeks down here and work." And so, but what they concocted was Fuji was going to go by Singapore and grab one of these cookies and bring it into Australia. And these cookies were like, you got Hershey candy bars, over, the big
Yeah, I know
Hershey's
what they are. Yeah, yeah.
squares. This damn cookie looked like a gigantic Hershey bar. And so and now you got Mark Lewin, and you got King Curtis, and you got Mr. Fuji. Those three, man, they can go through some illegal drugs quick. And so they didn't trust each other holding the drug, and they knew believe it or not, I was a straight kid back in those days. I was scared to death to do anything, afraid I'd get deported and sent back home. So I was minding my P's and Q's down there. So Lewis and Curtis come up with the idea of taking the cookie away from Fuji, because this big Hershey bar kept getting smaller and smaller. And on Friday night, on Friday, I believe we had Sydney. Then the next day we go all the way out to Western Australia, and that's farther than going from Tampa, the East Coast of the United States, to the West Coast of the United States, from New York to LA. It's a longer trip. And so they wanted something to relax themselves. So they would take a nibble of the cookie and just sit back on the airplane, basically pass out for 6, 7 hours while they made the trip across Australia. Well, that cookie kept getting smaller and smaller. They started blaming Fuji for double dipping on them, And I mean, it was a big deal, big argument. Hey, you're doing well, okay. Well, what can we do with the cookie? Who can we trust with a cookie? So I believe it was Curtis come up. Let's give it to the college boy over there. He don't do anything. Okay, so they gave it to me. So here we go. Now I'm the keeper of the cookie, and I'm making sure that they know. And they made me promise. Okay, Brisco, they all three of them together. Now you can't give one of us a piece unless you give all three of us a piece. No matter what we say or how we try to bribe you, you cannot give it up. We have your word on that. So I had to give my word on it. I probably even had to sign a document that I wouldn't, no matter what they did or how much they were offering me to pay me for a piece of their own cookie, I wouldn't give it to them unless the other guys were present. And so keeper of the cookie. I was proud of that role. I mean, I was a rookie, and here these veterans, sold out Madison Square Garden, every major arena in the world, trusted me with their stash. So anyway, bottom line is, I met this young lady. She's a flight attendant, and so she liked to partake in this stuff. So she talked me into biting into the cooking. I told her the whole story. I'm not supposed to give this stuff. Well, they won't know. We'll just take a little pinch of it and try it as your first time, try it. So I took a little pinch of it, and I went to Magic Land.
You kissed the sky.
Yeah. And so pretty soon, the guy, they're starting to, Brisco, where's the cooking? I pull a cookie. Man, that thing's smaller than it was. I said, I'm sorry, but don't you remember the other night in Melbourne, you said you had to have one. You had the okay of the other two guys. And so, I gave you a chunk of it. Yeah, but don't tell them. And then another guy would come, man, that's smaller than it usually is. So pretty soon that cookie disappeared, and they were, what the hell happened to her cookie? And so then they discovered, I was ratted out by the young lady.
Oh, for God's sake, after all that.
So needless to say, I lost control of the cookie after that.
There's no cookie left to lose control over. So
no crumbs either. No crumbs.
No crumbs. That's the spirit.